Guys, I want to ask you a question here. And this was a comment that InArt had made, I think in one of the Facebook groups. I'm not exactly sure, but someone had shared this, I know, in a place for collecting. And InArt had given a comment here saying sort of that the changes to the InArt phase one list are actually being made. So, and someone had also pointed out in this comment here that Queen Studios and InArt were possibly operating independently now and supply chains were changing. I don't know. It's a little bit vague. And sometimes this cannot be taken at face value because someone will comment this and then they'll backtrack it. This has happened with some InArt, comments on Facebook and other places before, where it's like, okay, they'll make a comment and then later on they'll change it around. It's like, oh, that's not what they meant. The person didn't know, or like some of the stuff. I think it was with Toys Wonderland and stuff like that before. But now we have an interesting situation here where they're saying they're going to make changes to the InArt phase one list, and supposedly InArt and Queen might be two separate things. So I don't know. This is going to be really interesting to see. That said, Mario, I want to start with you. Do you have any sort of issue with changes in the phase one list?
Well, are they omitting anything, or just in addition?
They might be.
That's the question.
I think they might be, because I think one of them was, what's it called? The Matrix Neo, right, from the new one. I could see that, and Mira, right? That could see those two.
Yeah, I mean, John did mention that those two could be questionable. Considering there's not much interest in the Neo and what's going on with the Mira. Right. There might not be much interest there. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. No big deal. For me personally, I'm not really looking forward to, I guess, either of those two. But again, like I mentioned before, for the artistry, I'm curious to see what they'll actually pull off, man, because I just want to see, what kind of work they're actually putting into it. Now, in regards to Queen Studios and them separating, from the parent company, I believe John actually mentioned that before earlier, that was actually going to happen. Okay. He might have mentioned it, I don't know about when it would take place, but he did say it's going to happen. So for them, moving forward, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not, I think I'm sure they can probably maintain that same artistry, without their parent company, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. But it honestly doesn't really affect me, none, really. It's like, if they're putting out new stuff and it changes, cool. I mean, right now they're still in their infancy, so to me, it's not a big deal. I don't know how others really feel about it, but let's hear it.
Right. Yeah. I'm interested to see, bro. Because Mario, I remember him, now that you say that, I remember him at one point saying something, but I didn't know if it was definitive. I know he was saying, yeah, I'm more so working with Queen rather than InArt now, so I can answer some InArt questions, but not as much. And I kind of took that as, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't know.
He did say that they would be, separate.
Right.
They would be eventually separating.
The way I thought of it, though, Mario, was like Queen was still going to be the parent company. It's kind of like Disney and Marvel, right? Like Disney, I guess it's still going to be like that, I would assume. But not exactly sure how that's going to work out. But anyway, so Riley, what do you think about this, bro? Changes to the phase one list. I mean, hopefully they don't get rid of anything. Like that Legolas, I really, really want. I don't think they would get rid of that one, but you never know. Riley, what do you think? Is there anything concerning here?
Yeah, Mario's totally wrong. It's a major deal. It's a huge deal. I'm gonna tell him what. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing around. Okay, so it's kind of a big deal, but kind of not at the same time. It depends what they really touch in the phase one list. I talked about this with Carlos, and I believe, you and Carlos in the group. Yeah. When it comes to like the DC figures, I know when we had the show, they said they wanted to stick to like keeping the phase one list, but now that we see here with this post, it kind of seems like they're not. The one thing that I'd say is, particularly with the DC, is the trinity that they have lined up, which is the Superman, the Batman, and the Wonder Woman. Because I know Lale, he's going to be pissed if they take out that Wonder Woman. And I think a lot of people will be pissed for sure. And I'm one of the ones where if they take out Cavill, I made it a post in my group, I'm going to be so mad because they can't do that, man. I hope that they don't like kind of take off those really popular characters in phase one. But you guys are right. Like when it comes to Mira, when it comes to the other ones that are kind of like, people are like, you can switch that up for something else. Like people won't care. But if you take away like the big name characters in that list, there's going to be a little bit of like response and feedback that's not too great for InArt. So hopefully they don't do that. Maybe it's out of their hand. But to me, I think that they should stick more to the most popular in that phase and kind of fizzle out certain ones. I mean, I know one that would be particular is Black Adam. I don't know if people would be mad if they took that out or not, because we do have the Hot Toys, and obviously the film didn't like do like the best thing ever. Like it wasn't an amazing film. So maybe they're just like, we're going to dump it. We're not going to do it, but I don't know. But to me, I just hope that they don't take off those super popular characters. But they could tweak some certain stuff, like you guys said, like Mira. But I know that John said that maybe in China it doesn't really matter to them, like the whole case thing and all that drama. So they just kind of like the way like aesthetically she looks. So they might end up doing it anyways. But yeah, I'm excited to see, because they did say that they're going to do new stuff. So that's kind of cool. Because I know, Will, you had your show the other time where they're doing like stuff that has to do with like their actual like China worldwide licenses with that one. I forget what it was. People were saying it looked like a Kit Kat bar. You and Carl
right.
about.
Yeah. It's more of an Asian license. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's maybe like kind of telling us here, like, yeah, they are making changes. They're going to do new stuff. And like I said, hopefully not take out some really popular old DC stuff. But yeah, it's interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, it is. And you know, obviously they added one with that character, and I'm excited about that actually, because it's not going to be for me. I did hear it's on Netflix, so maybe I'll go and watch it, and maybe I do love it, and it could be for me, right? But it's obviously not as much for the Western market. But I'm excited that they're going to be making stuff over there for their market as well. I think that's great that collectors are going to be getting more diversity in their figures. And
I don't think that even, I know some people have said like if they do like are not like partnered with Queen Studios anymore, like maybe the quality would like they'd be scared it would dip or something, but I don't think so. I think that InArt is like, I think from the jump when they made InArt, it's like its own studio and own like organization where they work on the figures, apart from Queen Studios where they do their statues and stuff. I might be wrong on that, but if in my opinion, I think that like they're gonna have the same team working on it. Mario. Yeah, but they might have the same team just working on it, just in a different location. Who knows? But yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Leo, what do you think, bro? Are you concerned at all? Worried at all with this phase 1 list changing?
Not at all, bro. Like I mean, InArt is InArt, bro. Just like any other company, they're going to go through certain changes. It's not really a big deal for me. But also just remember, with the sudden, with the change of the guard in the DCU, especially with DC Studios now, the IP is changing. They're going a totally different route. They did say, and it was a statement that was made, by Warner Brothers in DC, that even merchandising for the old guard is going to change. I mean, again, we're no longer running with Henry Cavill. We're no longer basically running with, Black Adam, Dwayne Johnson is Black Adam. Of course, we might as well basically assume that there won't be another Wonder Woman film, which means, we may not see Gal Gadot there anyway. So again, I mean, I learned to expect the unexpected and just keep it at that. But if that happens, and maybe they did get in contact with a lot of companies that they have licenses with and say, look, this is the route that we're going. We need you to basically focus on this. We don't want to put out the wrong impression that this is what's going to happen. And they just might be moving in that direction. There's a lot of things that are changing. So if it's changing cinematically, if it's changing, changing when it comes to like that form of entertainment, whether it's streaming properties, in theater, whatever, then obviously the merchandising is going to change. And they're going to want to focus on what they're doing now, and not too much emphasis on what was done in the past to kind of give off the wrong impression that they're supporting that, and they're petty right now. So we already know that's the route that they're going to go. So I literally, if it happens, it's definitely going to happen. And I'm like, you know what, whatever. So I mean, again, if I don't get Wonder Woman for them, I'm cool with it. I mean, Hot Toys basically produced something that looks like, pretty decent. So I'll run with that, you know what I mean? And just keep it at that. If InArt decides not to do it, then that's fine. You know what I mean? It is what it is, bro. The things that they actually already have up for pre-order, of course, they already got to push for, because people have paid for it, unless they decided they want to give the money back. Which I don't know. They're not going to do that. They're not going to be stupid enough to do something like that. But I just think going forward, it may be some things that are going to change, and just expect it. So it doesn't really, like, at the end of the day, bro. Like I said, there's so many conversations about InArt, what they're doing and their product and stuff like that. I'm just like, okay, we'll see.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, they make that statement. They're saying now InArt is running independently, including a supply. It almost makes it sound like friction or something. Like, I don't know. Right. Yeah, it does read a little. Maybe like Mario was saying, maybe it was all part of the plan.
On InArt. They just want to focus on, so no one can, they have that division and then they have InArt. Then so it could be that way,
Right.
Yeah. Maybe so. Well, I mean, I think the quality is still going to be very high nonetheless. At least that's what I'm predicting, just because of, the Joker in hand and, Queen Studios track record and the artists involved with InArt. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
And Wonder Dog, yes, I do actually own the Golden Armor Wonder Woman. It's a beautiful piece to have in your collection.
Nice.
I mean, again, it is a golden figure. So just, and the articulation is not there like that. So it's a good museum pose type of character. You might get some flight directory from it. It looks decent, but I mean, other than that, it's beautiful though. I like it. I love it though.
Right. Well, Carlos, what do you think, bro? Do you have any concerns, any hesitations with this InArt Phase 1 list changing?
No, not really, man, because it just means they're probably going to get rid of the figures that probably weren't going to sell well to begin with, Amira or other characters alike. So I think that's really all it's telling us, is that they're, noticing maybe they saw the sales for a Pennywise and the Batman and others, and they're like, well, if maybe some of them didn't do well, maybe Aragorn didn't sell as well as they hoped, even with such a good prototype. So maybe they're realizing that they're going to change that, so that they can do better. But yeah, I mean, not particularly worried or any of that. I think it just means that InArt's making some changes, just because there was a lot of figures in that list that probably weren't ideal, like I said, like Mira and so others. So maybe they canceled Dune. Who knows? I don't know if anyone would actually pick that up.
They may have. They may have, because I know even Leo. I talked to Leo and he loved Dune, and I really like Dune a lot too. But I don't know if I would pay $400 for.
Not for the figure, bro.
Right.
It wasn't in a space where I felt as though I needed to pay that much, for it. So again, like I said, when it comes to InArt, I'm very, very, very selective about what I get. I mean, because that's high end, and I don't need everything. And to be quite honest, Will, like your review of the Joker figure kind of helped me look at it that way. You know what I mean? Because again, we praise it because it's high end, but we got to also keep in mind that if it's flawed, you have to also talk about that as well. So I'm very, 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 very selective. And on top of that, like I talked about this earlier today, man, like there's changes even with marketing, but also changes when it comes to like their dealings with different companies. I mean, it just, I guess like that whole shipping issue, that it just wore me out, bro. Like it did. That conversation really wore me out. So I don't know. I mean, maybe there might be some changes, internally that they need to make, especially, when it comes to like, distribution and, everything on the back end as far as business, they could do that as well. So I don't know. It's not really a big deal.
You don't want a KG figure? Come on. I know KG's got me him. He's getting me him for free.
And that's the only figure that's approved for worldwide distribution, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So maybe they won't cancel.
There went that plan.
Chalamet.
The Dune.
Yeah, right.
KG Chalamet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting, Mario. Maybe that's one reason to do it, but I don't know if the demand is there for Dune.
It may not be worth may not be worth the ROI, dude.
Right, and like if that figure is going to cost $400 to $450 or $500, maybe like are people really going to pay that? I don't know. I mean, it's a good point. I mean, if Pennywise isn't even really moving as much as they thought, then I don't think Timothée Chalamet is going to move. So,
Pennywise isn't moving as much.
I think they said that was probably one of the lower ones. But they've done some pretty popular characters so far, so maybe that's just
so.
It, but
let me ask you a question: do you think that a lot of that is because people? I mean,
it could be. It's expensive for some. So.
It's expensive for some, but then
So,
again, people still have choices, and Hot Toys still has that figure out there, and it's still pretty well.
Yeah, it's still pretty good.
It looks good. So maybe people are selling them with that and saying, we don't really need to have a rooted hair figure. You know what I mean? So
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, aren't the pre-orders closed for the Pennywise, or is it still? I mean, other than Spec.
Spec might be the only one that has it. It's a good question, Mario. I don't think
closed.
anyone else really does. Yeah. Because maybe he had some cancellations and other stuff, but yeah, absolutely.